Hi, it's Jane, and I have a pattern that I'm wanting to make. This is the first time making this pattern, but I think it's one that I will do more than once. So what I like to do is I like to make a little template so that once I cut out my pieces of fabric, whatnot, I can lay it on the fabric and just go ahead and trace around it. So I am using some oak tag. These are sheets I got a couple of years ago. Had no idea that they were that big when I ordered them. Just made a mistake. So what I do is I make a template so that I can draw around them. Those kind of things. Lots of times if I want it to be thicker, because this is fairly thin, I will just cut 2 or 3 pieces of it and then use rubber cement to glue them together to make my template. So it makes it easier to draw around. And that's just a little tip that I kind of have for you. But my pattern pieces that I need to make are a gusset and also the body of this. And the body of this project is 12 by 8 1/4. So I am going to look for my 8 1/4. Gonna line this up on my mat. At the 36 mark. I am gonna put a couple of weights. This is my rubber cement down to hold it so that I get the right size. But the pattern is actually a 12 by 8 1/4 for this. So I am actually just going to cut this at 12. So I basically get a first cut and then can work from there. And these are some, if you do a lot of sewing for certain projects, I will tell you one of the projects that I do a lot of sewing for is Operation Christmas Child. So I do make patterns, and I'll give you an idea of what I mean by that. This is just cardstock that I've glued together. This isn't glued together yet. But this is cardstock that I've used to make some of the pads with. And you just print out your pattern. For these, I use the sewing kits, sewing pads for OCC, or I don't know what the group is. But then I will use these over and over so that I'm just drawing around on the piece of material. So it's fairly easy. And as you can see, I've got my nice cut here. Now I know it has to be 12 inches, so I do have that 12 inches there. And from there, I need to get a piece that is 8 1/4 inches. So I'm using my ruler. This is a 10 1/2 inch square ruler by Omnigrip. I don't use it as often as I do a lot of others because it's an odd size. But you notice I've taken blue tape to mark right around where the 1/2 inch mark is. So I know where to place this on my fabrics or whatever. So I'm actually going to go find that 8 1/4. On here. Line that up and cut away. And I do use a blade that is used for carpet making to cut. And I just use I have quite a few of these, you know, rotary cutters. So I use that as a basis. So I now have my sheet and it's ready to go. I do need to trim up a little bit of that scraggly end. And I will do that. And then basically I will do the measurements that I need in order to make that. But I've got, you know, my sheet that's ready to go that's 12 inches by 8 1/4 so that it's ready to be used. I do have another one that I need to cut out. I do need to make another that is 12 by 4 1/3, which is kind of an odd, but it's for the gusset. Many times I will round those up a little bit, not always, but sometimes you have to do what you gotta do. So I'm going to use the marks on my cutting board for that. And I'm going to get a roundabout for that. And actually, I think I'm going to round that up to 4 1/2. Make it a little easier on me. It just means that the gusset will be a little bit wider. And don't be afraid to change the patterns up if you need to. I mean, it's not rocket science. Just means it's going to change things a little bit. And where I've changed this up, basically, is going to be with the width of the gusset of the bag. And I'm not afraid to change those up a little bit. So I have those pieces ready to go. So now I can mark some further marks on these to get it where I need it to be. I don't need to cut the pockets or anything else or the strap. I just needed it for these two because there is some shaping that is done on these. So yeah, that's kind of what I've done for many patterns that I have done repeatedly because I need to have a specific size and then I need to either cut down to create a certain type of pattern for that. So that is what I do. Makes it a little easier than constantly having to readjust, whatever. You can just place it on the fabric you've already pre-cut and draw a line, or even just place it on there and use that as your template for cutting your fabric. So I thought I would just share that little tip that I do for certain patterns, even my own patterns when I'm making patterns. Many times I love making bags, and I love to try to experiment and change bags for me, myself, and I. So many times I will take these and I will create, like with this leftover piece, I could create a flap for a nice big tote, something like that, that'll come up over the top of the bag. Or, you know, for even a purse, if I want a purse that's cut pretty wide. I don't generally carry purses that are around 12. You know, generally I'm wanting a purse that's about 10 inches wide. I think that's pretty wide to begin with. But yeah, those are just a couple of tips. Like I said, there are some other things that you could do to make this a thicker board, and that would be simply to take rubber cement and slather it, place that on there, let it dry. You could do that once or twice, and it'd be nice and thick, pretty much as thick as a ruler if you wanted it to be, so it would be easier to draw. All right, that is it for today's tip. I thought I would share those tips, and I hope you did enjoy them. I hope they give you some kind of idea how to make your sewing go a little bit faster. Because I know that this pattern, like I said, this pattern I do plan on making quite a few of those. So I do want a bit of a template so I'm not constantly having to measure each and every piece every time I go along. I can just lay that on there and just cut or draw it so that I can cut it later. All right, that's it. Hope everybody has a great week. See you again soon. Bye.